Our time right now is 8:05. The Trump administration is appealing a federal court's decision to block most of the president's sweeping tariffs, and that includes the so-called Liberation Day tariffs announced in April and the duties that he placed on China, Mexico, and Canada earlier this year. Now, the ruling yesterday, a major legal blow to his global trade agenda, and now the appeals process could go all the way to our highest court, the U.S. Supreme Court. So this morning, we've got attorney Josh Kolsrud, who is a former federal prosecutor with the U.S. Attorney's Office. He's here this morning to explain the legal significance of this decision. If anything, I know you know this real well with federal law. Talk about the legal significance of this latest ruling.
Sure. So, this ruling is legally significant for a variety of reasons. So, Congress usually has the authority to regulate commerce, and this is spelled out in Article 1. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't delegate that authority to a president, which they have done repeatedly over the last 100 years or so. Now, in 1975, Congress passed the International Economic Emergency Powers Act and gave the president authority to regulate imports into the United States. Now, this is the first time, though, that a president has used that act to levy tariffs on countries. And in this case, Trump levied 10% tariffs on all countries and then specific tariffs on China, Mexico, and Canada. Now, the court said, though, that the basis that the White House used, which was a national emergency for fentanyl and the national deficit, wasn't to the level that would justify the tariffs. So their ruling really limits the executive branch's ability to levy tariffs in the way that they want to proceed to.
Basically a disagreement there of what was an emergency versus what was not an emergency.
Exactly, yeah. And that's a really good point, because this is the first time that a court has actually evaluated whether or not the president's declaration of a national emergency counts as a national emergency under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. So the question going forward, especially for the Supreme Court later on, is does the court overstep its boundary? Does it cross over the separation of powers and into an area where it's usually Congress that has the ability and the authority to look and review whether or not there's an actual national emergency, because it's a political question.
So talk about, how could this decision basically influence the legislative actions then moving forward, especially with the trade authority?
So this is a great opportunity for Congress to limit or expand a president's authority to issue tariffs, and really the basis for that as well. So in this case, President Trump said that the basis was an emergency, fentanyl and the deficit. And so Congress needs to come forward and really define what a president can do under with tariffs.
And do you think it'll go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court?
Oh, it definitely will.
Yeah. And that's what we'll be waiting for, is to see, right, the process. It could take a while, though, before we finally get there.
Oh, absolutely. And as an attorney, it's just been kind of fun to watch the back and forth from each side, going up and down repeatedly. So it'll be fun to watch what the Supreme Court does.
Which means we'll be seeing Josh Kolsrud many, many more times to talk about the latest developments. We always appreciate your insight and your breakdown of all this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.